You're listening to the Small Business Talk podcast with Cathy Smith. Episode 11.
Small Business Talk is a podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want a better way to run their businesses without spending years doing it the hard way. Small Business Talk is hosted by Cathy Smith, who has run the same marketing agency for more than 17 years and helped hundreds of business owners achieve their marketing goals.
Hey, I'm so glad you could join us. Today, we are talking to special guest Gemma Heaney. Gemma is the Director of HBG Tax and Accounting. Gemma has an extensive experience in various industries and is perfectly suited to provide the solutions needed to minimise your tax and maximise your wealth. Today, Gemma is going to demystify single touch payroll and let us know as small business owners how we can get ready for single touch payroll. Welcome, Gemma.
Thanks, Cathy. I'm so glad we could do this today and talk about single touch payroll.
So what do small business owners need to know about single touch payroll?
I think the main thing that most businesses need to be aware at the minute is that it is now going to be mandatory for all employers from the 1st of July 2019. It has actually been in for larger employers, so more than 20 since the 1st of July last year. But 1st of July this year, it's going to be mandatory for everybody.
Okay, so that's all small businesses that have any employees?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's going to be a big change for a lot of smaller people.
For a lot of smaller people, yes, it is. But there is going to be concessions in place for micro employers, so 1 to 4.
Excellent. So what should we be doing as a small business to prepare ourselves?
I think that's going to depend for a lot of business owners on what they're already doing at the minute. So for most businesses, that have a relatively normal number of employees, so, 8 to 15 employees, I'd be very surprised if they don't already have an electronic payroll system, not to say there aren't some that don't. So if you're on a electronic system already, so My Account Right Live, Xero, QuickBooks Online, My Essentials, all of the more well-known ones, Pronto, all of those will already be single touch payroll ready because of the larger employers that came in last year. There should already be a button in their system to sort of just click opt in. You just need to go through a registration process, let the ATO know a software ID, and you're pretty much ready to go and you can start paying your stuff, keep paying your stuff as normal. So it's not as complicated for those ones as it may seem. It's the ones that are on an old desktop version that I suppose have maybe been reluctant to start paying the monthly subscription or the yearly fee, so haven't upgraded in the past. Unfortunately, the ATO is kind of forcing those ones to upgrade and become SBR compliant. So for those ones, again, it's probably not as much of a change. It might just be a little bit of an inconvenience because they're going to be forced to start paying the fee. Or if they're not wanting to pay the fee and it's not cost effective for them to actually have one of those systems, they're going to need to think about swapping to a different free payroll software system. So the ATO have given out a list which is on their website, and they are working with quite a few software providers for low-cost options. I know Xero and MyOb and QuickBooks are all coming out with a $10 a month solution. So it's either going to be you upgrade and pay the fee to have a full system all in one, but if you want to stay with your old free desktop version, you may find yourself in a spot where you're doing your payroll on a different system that is SBR compliant. So I think for most people it's just going to make sense to upgrade and sort of do it that way, otherwise you're going to have 2 different systems. And then it's probably the really, really little guys who are still doing manual cash books, Excel spreadsheets, those types of things, which, you would think there's not many, but surprisingly there are.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's going to be those ones that are probably going to have the biggest change. And to be honest, to be a business in today, I find it hard that any business can run without having some kind of electronic system and having financial reporting that helps them make informed decisions day to day. Although it is kind of a push from the ATO, it's probably a really good time to sit down and talk to someone about what is going to be the best system for them. It doesn't need to be expensive. As I said, there is going to be low-cost options, but maybe sit down and think about maybe we get on a computer and start doing this now instead of our book.
And it probably means that they need to look at their whole business as well, which is probably not a bad thing too. So
That's
do
correct.
a bit of planning. And in one of our previous episodes with Charlotte Brown, we did actually do planning, so that's really great.
Yeah, and we will definitely, of my clients that I can think of that don't have electronic systems, I do have some that are doing pay slips by Word or Excel, but whether they're actually giving them to their staff every pay cycle is probably another question, or whether when they need them for a bank, they go back and create these pay cycles. I think for some that are paying salaries where they know the tax and super amounts every week, they can survive without having a system that calculates it. But even per Fair Work, you're actually required to give your staff pay slips every week or a fortnight, however often you pay them, to get on a system, have their employees' email addresses in there and just be clicking email now each week. It makes sense. It's just kind of forcing everyone to come with the times.
Absolutely, and it'll streamline your business. So for those that have been maybe living under a rock and don't actually know what Single Touch Payroll is, can you explain to us what we are pressing our Single Touch to do?
So it's basically just an initiative by the ATO to have employers report electronically through the SBR system their payroll information each pay cycle. So they're not forcing anyone to change their pay cycle. So you still, if you're weekly, fortnightly, monthly, however you've been paying, it will still be the same. But historically, the ATO have only ever got information about which specific employees, tax file numbers, etc., that you have been paying, what their wages tax is, what their super is, until the end of the year when you've lodged your group certificates and your pay-as-you-go summary statement. Now, every time you click that Pay Now button and you produce your pay slips for your staff, you are going to click File and it's going to send that information directly to the ATO. The ATO are sort of marketing it like it's them, getting a better view over what's going on with wages. But to be honest, I feel like it's more that they're going to get greater control over super guarantee. So for a lot of businesses, we've been telling our staff for years that they need to pay superannuation as a number one priority because of the penalties for not paying super on time. I think it was estimated last year that 2.9 billion of superannuation is unpaid by employers across Australia. And so what you will find now is that the ATO are they're data matching. They're going to have a really good picture of what's going on there because the wages and super information is going to be reported every pay cycle. And I imagine all of the superannuation funds out there are already, you have to pay super through a clearinghouse already electronic. So that was brought in a few years ago. So that information goes to the ATO every quarter. So very quickly they're going to be able to see that ABN didn't pay that TFN's superannuation and they haven't lodged a super guarantee charge form. We're going to send them a letter.
Okay, so it should be a good thing for the employees because it will protect them. We've heard nasty stories of businesses going broke and their taxes haven't been paid and their super hasn't been paid. And the employee ends up in trouble. So this will hopefully stop some of those issues for the actual employees.
Well, interestingly, so with Single Touch Payroll as well, it's going to do away with the need for doing group certificates at the end of the year completely.
Oh, wow.
What are called PAYG payment summaries now.
Yes.
Which, even my staff had mixed feelings about that. They were sort of, but we'll want a pay-as-you-go payment summary. So employers also need to encourage their staff to get a MyGov account. So I've started reporting through Single Touch Payroll already. Businesses can opt in whenever they want. And one of my staff members logged into their MyGov account to see what was coming through. And interestingly, she can actually see all her year-to-date payments because they've come through on the payslip. So she could see all her year-to-date gross wages, tax and super. And she could actually see dates of where I had paid superannuation for her.
Oh, excellent.
So I think there's lots of employees out there. I know when I was younger, I never checked if my superannuation was being paid.
No.
They can actually log into their MyGov account now. They should be able to see exactly what they've been paid and what super they've been paid.
Excellent.
So I feel like, if they're not being paid their super, they should be able to say to their employer pretty quickly now what's going on.
Yeah, and that will be good for when they're looking for things like a bank loan or something. It'll be so much easier to access, so much more accurate in some instances.
That's correct.
So it sounds like it should be a win-win and it will streamline a lot of businesses and make it easier for them in the long run.
Yeah, it's just business owners that have dragged their feet, I suppose, with going electronic are going to sort of need to get there a bit faster now.
And sometimes as business owners, we don't like to move with the times, but...
No. And so, as I said before, so micro-employers, so the ATO are classing those as business owners with 1 to 4 employees. It doesn't include directors either. They are given a concession, so not a concession from reporting, but a concession in not doing it every pay run, so they can actually appoint a BAS or a tax agent to lodge quarterly for them.
Okay.
So that is, I suppose, and that's for the first 2 years. So if you're really finding it hard, to get onto an electronic system, you can talk to your accountant or your bookkeeper about lodging for you for every quarter for the first few months.
Okay, so that sounds really good.
First few years, sorry.
First few years, so that's for 2 years.
2 years.
Okay, excellent. So what tips would you give business owners to make it more easy for them to go to Single Touch Payroll?
I suppose just do your research. So if you've got a BAS agent or a tax agent that you're happy talking to, I would suggest going to have a chat to them about what's actually going to be the best fit for you in terms of cost and what you're doing already and the type of business that you have. If that's not affordable for you, I would just jump onto the ATO website and look at the low-cost options. There's a huge list there, so it's probably a little bit overwhelming, but maybe just pick one or two and start looking into those and see how they're going to be a good fit for you.
Sure, and we can link to those links in the show notes to that list.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Do you see any downsides of the Single Touch Payroll apart from having to jump to electronic if you're not already there?
So that's obviously one downside, which I actually don't see as a downside for business owners. I feel like, although they may not want to move there, they will definitely see other improvements and efficiencies in their business from going onto those systems anyway. The only other downside from my mind is if you're a small business that's struggling to pay superannuation on time, it may be a bit of a shift for you, and they really do need to start thinking about superannuation being the number one payment that they make first above all else. I'm not saying don't try and pay your BASs and your wages tax and everything in time either. Things like that we can get payment arrangements for, or, creditors that they have, they may be able to get payment terms. Superannuation is not one of those things. It needs to be paid by the due date if you want to claim a tax deduction for it. I think that's the only downside in my mind.
Okay.
For some, it may be quite difficult.
Yes, but then maybe they should be looking at their business as well to whether they can actually afford these staff and whether they need to be looking at other systems as well. Okay, so that all sounds very good. Now, we have the final 5 that I ask all my guests. So, are you game?
Yes, definitely. Far away.
So, best advice given to you by a mentor?
I've had lots of mentors over my time. The one that's sticking in my mind recently, I don't know that he was a mentor. When I first started the business, I did get approached by a number of other accounting practices that were looking at selling, whether they wanted me to buy their client lists. And another business owner that I look up to, I suppose, had said to me, don't do that, just let it grow naturally. Why would you take on all those costs and loans when you could just let it grow naturally at a nice slower pace and not have all those debts? So it was attractive at the time to think, I could grow my business and buy another list, but to be honest, I'm really glad that I didn't, because it grew faster than I had imagined anyway. And some of those clients we ended up picking up for free anyway because they moved on for whatever other reason.
Excellent. What is the biggest help that you have received since starting your business?
I think the only thing I'd be able to say there is from my staff. I've been lucky that I've got a really good team now and that it wouldn't have grown the way it did without them. So I think just looking at who you've got working with you and making sure they're a right fit for you.
And I'm sure that's not luck. I'm sure that's part of your good leadership.
Yes. Funnily enough, that was one of my big reasons for starting my own business, was that I wanted to build a team I was proud of. So I think we have done that.
Excellent. What is the one thing that you have to do every day, your non-negotiable?
My emails.
Sounds like an addiction.
To be honest, I turn it off sometimes because otherwise I'm just turned to them all the time. But I don't know that I have any other non-negotiable.
Okay. What is your favourite business book and why?
Business book. To be honest, I don't read that many. I'm too busy working all the time. But there is one over the last few years that I've read, which was The Perfect Firm, written by Rob Nixon. And Rob is a business accounting coach for accounting professionals. He started Panalytics, which is a mentoring group that we were part of for a while. And the book's just all about setting goals for your business and how you can run your accounting. It's for accounting firms specifically, but the principles sort of apply to anyone. But it's all just about things you can do differently in your business and setting goals and make sure you're tracking and all of those things, which I think as business owners we all forget to do, sometimes even as an accounting owner.
It's interesting. It's the old mechanic's car always blows smoke, because you think that accounting people would be so on top of their numbers, but just like any other business person, they just get busy.
Yes.
And, if you haven't got your systems set up spot perfectly, and no doubt you're busy running everybody else's businesses.
Yeah, I look after everybody else's businesses and then forget to do my own budget.
And that's so common in all our industries, isn't it? Doesn't matter what industry you're in. What do you wish you had known when you started your business?
How much hard work it was. I think, as an employee, you have an idea of what it is to be the boss. I thought that maybe I could do things differently, and have a lot more flexibility, which is true to a degree, but it also means that everything falls to you. And so, I work a lot harder now than I ever did as an employee. So I think maybe just that.
I think that's absolutely true for most business owners.
I obviously meet lots of clients that come in with great ideas to start businesses, and they do start them and they work out great. But a lot of them all say, oh, it's so much hard work. And I go, I know. I try to say to them all the time, just make sure you're aware of, it is going to take a lot of your focus, especially over those first few years when you're trying to put systems in place and do things and get everything done the way you want. It's a lot of hard work.
Absolutely. I read a quote during the week and it said that small business owners are the only people that will work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week for somebody else for a guaranteed pay.
That is correct.
So I think we're all a bit crazy as well.
We are,
yeah. Excellent, Gemma. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything you would like to tell the SBT audience?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered everything there. I think just the only bit of advice I would give is that July is really close around the corner and that time gets away with all of us. So you will be able to get deferrals if you're not able to be ready by 1st of July, but you need to start applying for those deferrals if you think you're not going to be ready, or you need to start doing something and getting ready.
Excellent. And if people would like to talk to you about accounting or tax, where can they find you?
So you can go to our website, so hbgtax.com.au, or feel free to give us a call on 9594 1963.
Excellent. Thank you, Gemma.
Perfect. Thanks, Cathy.
Don't forget to subscribe to Small Business Talk podcast and head on over to smallbusinesstalk.com.au/downloads for all the show notes and links to this episode. Remember, to be great, you must start. Pick one tip from today's episode, take action and implement it. Let's meet again next week at the same time and place. Until then, take action. And SBT community, enjoy your journey.